Welcome to the February the 20th, 2002 pre-taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie, as we bring you the history of our city of Grand Prairie, Texas, and some of the important people that have made history and some that are even continuing to make history this very day. This is our history tape number 448, and we are very honored today. During this very wonderful month of Black History Week and month, we're so pleased to have a young man from Grand Prairie, Texas that has just been an outstanding citizen of our city, sort of to the west, because he has a magnificent church, the Sunset Baptist Church in Grand Prairie, Texas on Manning Street. And we're very honored today to have the Reverend Matthew Magruder. Welcome to the set.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. It's a pleasure to be here today.
We're really excited to have you on the dais today, and we're just very sad that beautiful Miss Cynthia couldn't be here today, your wonderful wife, and the fact that that she's taking care of business for the firefighters in Dallas, Texas, and we were sad about their accident losing a firefighter. Yes, so I know that she's on the hot seat over there, and you're on the hot seat here in Grand Prairie, Texas, as our history person of the day.
Yes. And
thank you for being with us, and we'd like to welcome you to the show by asking you to look out into your camera and tell us about the real Matthew Magruder. We want to go back and do a mini genealogy so that we'll have that on your history tape record.
All right. Okay.
Tell us about your parents.
All right. I was born to the late Reverend Matthew Harrison Magruder and my mother, Laura Magruder.
And her maiden name, please.
Laura Marie Franklin Magruder.
Okay.
And I'm originally from Corpus Christi, Texas. That's where I was born and raised and finished high school.
Okay. And no brothers or sisters?
No brothers and sisters. I'm an only child.
Oh, you were pampered and petted and, oh.
That's what they tell me.
Yes. And having a father that was a magnificent minister also,
yes,
a pastor, and a mother that was dedicated to being a helpmeet to him, I know that you had a wonderful upbringing, but let's go back a little farther than that, because you have a magnificent history in Grand Prairie, and you're well known for a special young man in your past that has been very important to you. Tell us about both of your grandparents, would you?
All right. My grandfather, Reverend Newell Magruder, is originally from Dallas, Texas, but in 1952 he chose to relocate to the Grand Prairie area.
Yes.
And there is where he organized in 1952, February, what we now know to be the Sunset Baptist Church.
Yes, and a grandfather that had that much foresight.
Yes. He saw the need and thought there was a need for another church in the Grand Prairie area in the black community of Dalworth. And under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, he was led to organize in a one-bedroom wood frame house that he owned, that he had moved out here and set on the corner of Manning Road and Spikes.
That is such an exciting adventure. Wasn't he an entrepreneur? Yes.
He was an entrepreneur.
Yes, he was. Really was. And having a grandfather, did you have a grandmother that went with this wonderful Newell?
My grandmother that was married to Newell at that time was Dolores Magruder.
Okay.
And she was into real estate.
Uh-huh.
And she was the one that had him to look out toward Grand Prairie. They purchased a home on on Pangburn Street.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And that home is still there, and that's where my mother now resides.
Oh, that is great. That is really wonderful. Well, that's a real good genealogy that you have there, having a background of a grandfather that was a minister and a father that was a minister, and now you are the pastor of that wonderful church that had a great celebration, but we're not going to talk about the celebration yet.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a few minutes, but let's start out. You were born in Corpus Christi.
I was born in Corpus Christi, Texas.
If you were born in Corpus Christi, Texas, did you go to elementary school in Corpus? Where'd you go to elementary school?
Yes, I went to elementary school in Corpus Christi.
I
started the Holy Cross Catholic school was the first 5 years of my elementary school. And then after that, I switched to public school, Booker T. Washington.
Okay.
And then I graduated from Solomon Melvin Coles High School in Corpus Christi. Solomon Melvin Coles, C-O-L-E-S.
All right, and that was the high school.
That was the high school.
All right, was it an all-black high school?
It was an all-black high school.
You have come the long way around. Oh, Pastor Magruder,
yes.
You're going to be able to tell the boys and girls that watch our show many exciting things that happened during that time before we had the realization that everything wasn't exactly
Yes, yes,
according to the color chart, was it?
Exactly,
Yes.
right.
Okay. Well, going to Holy Cross for 5 years, that was a pretty narrow, and how did you take to that?
I took to it pretty good. My mother and my grandmother decided that they wanted me to go to a private school at
Yes.
that time.
Yes.
And believe it or not, Holy Cross was an all-black school.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And so I had some upbringing there, and with the sisters and those that were in that school as educators, got me off to a great start.
Did you have a
Great start.
favorite? Did you have a favorite teacher there of the sisters that were really good to you and made you feel welcome?
Really good to me, Sister Cabrina was the principal of that school.
Yes.
And I never will forget her. She was a disciplinarian.
Yes.
But at the same
Not that you needed it.
Not that I needed it, but, but I got my share of it. But
Yes.
she was a beautiful person, and got me off to a real great start in the elementary ages of 1st through 5th grade.
And when you left Holy Cross and you went into the other private, the public school, what was the name of that school?
The name of that school also was Solomon Melvin Coles.
Oh,
it
it
was a junior
was.
and senior high school.
And a senior
Yeah.
high. Okay.
Yeah.
And going from Holy Cross into that school, what kind of change was that for you?
It was a drastic change in the sense that at Holy Cross it was a little more strict and discipline. I felt I had a little more freedom once I got to the public school, but at the same time, those teachers were disciplinary teachers and instructors, and I had my share of a taste of all of that.
What was your favorite teacher in the middle school or junior high?
In junior high, I think my favorite teacher possibly was Mrs. Williams. Her name was Mrs. Williams, and she was our homeroom teacher.
Oh, yes.
I came up to be the teacher's pet.
Oh,
so.
yes.
And
That was very fitting.
That was very fitting. That was very fitting, and I grew to love her, and she was a really nice instructor, teacher.
And then on to high school, when you get in with the big boys.
When I got into high school, basically you already knew everybody because we were still in the same building, same school,
same campus,
same teachers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, same teachers, and so we really had a good time in the high school. Mrs. Smith, who happened to be an English teacher as well as the choir director for the high school choir, was one of my favorite teachers.
Was that because of the subject of choir? Were you a singer? Or?
I considered myself at that time could hold a tune pretty good,
Yes.
and so I was in the high school choir.
All right. Anything else in high school?
Football, basketball.
Football, or position you played?
I played center in football and middle guard on defense. I was a captain of the football team.
Way to go!
Made the varsity football team in the 9th grade.
Okay.
And so for the 4 years, I was on the varsity team.
You were an important man on campus. That when you're the football captain.
At least I thought so.
Yes, yes. And then basketball also?
Played a little basketball, only my freshman and sophomore year. I had a knee injury, and I laid out of basketball and just kind of finished up in football.
Academically, what were your favorite subjects in high school?
My favorite subject was English.
All right.
That was my favorite subject. Didn't really appreciate the math part about it, but
Yeah.
I hung in
Tolerated
there.
that.
Yeah, I tolerated that.
Yeah.
But English was my favorite subject.
Yes.
And English and speech class were my favorite.
And after the Melvin Coles High School, what happened to
In 1967 was when I graduated from Solomon Coles. We were the last graduating class from Solomon Coles. In '68 was when they integrated the rest of the schools there in Corpus Christi. So,
And you didn't get that opportunity, did you?
I didn't get that opportunity, but I was proud to be among the last graduating class of an all-black school in Corpus Christi.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was exciting, wasn't it?
It was exciting, it really was, yeah.
And have you gone back for any of their reunions?
I've been back. In fact, last year I was the guest speaker at their banquet when they had all the years Solomon Coles to come back.
For a big reunion.
That was a big reunion. Every graduate that had ever graduated from that school returned home. They had over 300 or 400 people.
And you got to be the main speaker?
I got to be the banquet speaker.
Oh, we're going to have to bow to you. That was really great.
It was a great experience to see my old classmates, and it was a wonderful
And some of your
experience.
teachers?
And some of my teachers, yes.
That was really great.
Right.
And after high school, what?
After high school, I was blessed to be employed by Reynolds Aluminum, which was one of the major corporations in the Corpus Christi area at that time. And right out of high school, I landed a job with Reynolds Aluminum and worked for them for about 5 years.
Yes.
And that's when I announced my calling into the ministry.
All right.
That was in 73. And as a result of me entering into the ministry, my home church, St. John Baptist Church, under the leadership of Reverend Harold Branch, provided a 4-year scholarship for me to come up here to Dallas Baptist.
To Dallas Baptist.
And since I knew my grandfather was in the Grand Prairie area, I chose Dallas Baptist over Baylor and Houston Baptist.
Because you were near to grandfather.
I was near the grandfather.
Oh, you are a smart cookie.
Yep, needed somebody to fall on in case it didn't work. So.
Yes.
But that's what originally got me up here, was to attend Dallas Baptist.
Dallas Baptist.
Yeah.
And when you got to the campus at Dallas Baptist, what kind of change was that from Corpus Christi
When
area?
I got to the campus of Dallas Baptist, it kind of blew my mind. It was a huge campus. In fact, the Metroplex was really exciting to me. Corpus Christi was a town that I always admired. It wasn't too small, wasn't too large, but when I got to the Metroplex, I was just lost.
Yes.
But it started growing on me, and got to meet some real good friends on the campus of Dallas Baptist, other preachers who had received the same scholarship, and we kind of bonded and
That's great.
developed a relationship.
And started seriously studying this ministry then, right?
Seriously studying this ministry deal. Pastoring was not really on my mind. I wanted to get the education.
Yes.
Perhaps go back to Corpus Christi and be an assistant pastor or something on that order, but God had other plans.
Yes.
And,
what other favorite subjects did you have at Dallas Baptist, and what experiences did you play? Any football or basketball?
Didn't play any sports on the campus of Dallas Baptist. It was more or less all study.
All study.
And I was married, had 2 kids, and so it was a case where I was working, going to school, and being an assistant under my grandfather at Sunset Baptist.
Oh, so you had already worked your way into Sunset Baptist.
When I moved up here, I united with Sunset as a membership minister.
Oh, that is
under my grandfather.
How exciting
exactly.
to sit at his feet as the main pastor.
From 74 to 77, when he retired, I was just one of his associate ministers there at the
and
church.
And you commuted then on to Dallas Baptist.
Commuted back and forth every day to Dallas Baptist.
You was there a favorite professor that really did encourage you?
There was a professor at that time named Dr. Walls. He taught theology, and I kind of enjoyed being in that class because basically that was, for a time, that was only the religious class that I was taking. I was taking all the basics, psychology, sociology, and English, and
all that good old math.
Yeah, things that I didn't think I really needed, but now I know I'm glad I took those courses because it has helped tremendously. Yeah.
All right, now you mentioned that you had 2 sons by that time. I need for you to name your 3 sons.
I have 3 sons. My oldest son is Curtis Magruder. He's a Dallas police officer. He's been on the Dallas Police Force for about 13 years now. Is also a graduate of South Grand Prairie High.
Okay, all right. He's got a warrior background.
Got a warrior background. My middle son is Matthew James Magruder, and he's a warrant officer, CID, special agent in the Army, and he's stationed in Korea. And he's a graduate of...
He's a warrior also.
He's a warrior. He's a South Grand Prairie warrior.
I don't like him being in Korea, but we're going to tolerate that right now, aren't we? And your number 3 son?
And then my youngest son is Michael Magruder. And Michael is also a graduate of South Grand Prairie. And he's an MP in the Army. And he's stationed in Japan.
Well, they have just moved your kids all around, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, that is wonderful because they'll get invaluable experiences.
Really proud of them. They're on the law enforcement end of it. I asked the Lord for 1 preacher, but he gave me 3 cops. So. But that's okay.
But that's what we need in this nation today because the Lord knew what he was doing, didn't he?
Knows what he's doing.
Oh, that is just wonderful. And are they going to get to come home one of these days pretty soon?
Hopefully. Michael has 3 years tour over in Japan, and James has 2 years over in Korea. So hopefully somewhere in between there, they'll get some leave time to come home, perhaps for the holidays. Yeah.
And you're such a happily married young man that I believe February the 14th is going to be a magic day for you pretty soon with your beautiful wife.
February is a magic day. Not only is it Valentine's Day, but my wife and I, Cynthia, and I will be married 5 years.
That's wonderful. And that is Cynthia
Diane
Miller
Magruder.
Oh, we have that all in this
you got
historic
it all
record.
Now.
Yes, and she is such a beautiful young lady, and we're going to ask our viewing audience to watch at the end of this show. Because Mr. Louis Tovar, who is our magic person in the control room, already has frozen a picture of you and Mrs. Magruder, so that we can end our show with that. Oh, and Mr. Louis Tovar is showing it right now on our screen. Isn't that great?
That is
Isn't
great.
she a beautiful young lady? Congratulations for this February the 14th.
Well, thank you.
Don't forget the candy and don't forget the flowers.
All right.
And that about rounds out your family, except for one person, and that's your mom.
My mother.
Let's talk about your mom, would you?
Okay.
Her picture is in your celebration that we have just had.
She's in the souvenir booklet
Yes.
that we just had, the 50th church anniversary. She's 82 years old.
Yes.
I'm proud to be her pastor.
Yes, you are. Isn't that wonderful?
And
you can monitor her up a storm.
Equally proud to be her son, and sometimes she has a hard time distinguishing the two. She wants to be mama sometimes, most of the time, and she is. Beautiful lady. And
give us her name.
Her name is Laura Marie Franklin Magruder.
Oh, that is so great.
And she's originally from Victoria, Texas.
Victoria, yes.
She was born in Victoria, but she had her education in San Antonio, Texas. But I've been her pastor since 1990.
Is she a stalwart encourager to you?
She's a great encourager. She has really been a source of inspiration to me in the good times and the bad times. Yes. Great counselor, great advisor. Does she pamper the grandsons? Oh, she's just a typical grandmother. She's a typical grandmother. Yeah. Okay.
And now let's talk a little bit about the celebration.
About the celebration. Since you mentioned the celebration, I want to thank you for being a part of history at Sunset. Being there as one of our special guests to present to us a proclamation from the mayor and the city of Grand Prairie.
You're welcome.
It just meant a lot. And as a token of our appreciation, I'd like to present you with a souvenir booklet, a bookmarker, and a keychain to commemorate the 50th church anniversary and mortgage burning ceremony.
I saw you all burning those papers. I wondered if the fire marshal was going to get us. Y'all had 6 candles and then 1 extra candle.
Had 6 candles and the 7th candle, and we burned the mortgage note payment on our new sanctuary.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you gave a local bank the what for because we burned up their paperwork, right?
Well, we had copies, so it wasn't an original, but we did what we needed to do.
And I believe Miss Davis helped to orchestrate that wonderful ceremony.
Mrs. Mildred Davis was a part of.
Wasn't she wonderful?
She was beautiful. She coordinated it, and I've gotten nothing but positive remarks and comments about the job she did in coordinating that official note burning ceremony.
And you have a choir director that is awesome. Now, he really did give us one of the most wonderful presentations of the Lord's music that day.
Thank you. Mark Sims is our minister of music, and Reginald Dunlap, of whom you're speaking of, is our new choir director. And they have done a fantastic job in the short length of time that they've been with us.
And you had, one of them was a magic drummer. Oh,
yes.
You had some fantastic young men at the percussion
the percussion is Sam McFadden.
Yes.
And at the keyboard was Brandon Smith, and Ken Niblett is our bass guitar player. Yeah.
And your young man that was the master of ceremonies.
Andrew White.
Oh,
He's one of the chairmen of our deacons ministry.
Yes.
And he's been a source of inspiration and encouragement. He spearheaded coordinating the pledge drive to reach the mark that we needed to reach to pay off the church note.
Pay off that note.
And of course you heard him speak, so he was excited about reaching that goal.
Yes. And also you had some very important people on the program there today. I've never seen as much top brass in the Baptist, but one thing that I enjoyed was your spiritual dancers. That's the first that I had witnessed them in Grand Prairie at your church.
One of the newest ministries of our church is our adult praise dance ministry, and that was a special performance that they did for the Jubilee celebration. And in fact, it was entitled Jubilee Celebration.
Along with that, you had to play second fiddle to that 50th anniversary because I believe that was your silver anniversary as a minister, right?
That's correct. This was our golden church anniversary, 50 years.
Yes.
But this year also marks 25 years
for you
that I've been the pastor of Sunset. In fact, on the 4th Sunday in March, officially I became pastor 25 years ago.
Yes. That's very exciting. Now, there's one thing that it was, to me, was probably the most outstanding. You had one of your deacons that moved off down into the country. But he came back for this magic ceremony and he sang beautifully.
Freddie Duncan.
Freddie Duncan.
Freddie Duncan.
Julia Duncan's husband.
Julia Duncan's husband.
Yes.
But Freddie Duncan is one of the oldest deacons at our church at this present time. They moved to Powell, Texas.
Yes.
But he's been commuting ever since they moved about 3 years ago. He's been commuting back and forth.
Yes.
Just wasn't content to be nowhere else but at Sunset.
Yes.
He's a beautiful spirit. He's been pro-pastor ever since I've been there, and we're happy to have him.
He worked with us in a real wonderful way during urban renewal. When we first brought urban renewal in. My Mr. Jackson was the chairman of urban renewal for the cleaning up of Dalworth and all of that. And we worked very hard, and he just was tremendous at that time. Of course, you were preaching at that time. You weren't into all of those menial things.
No, I really wasn't.
Yes. All right, we need to talk a little bit more about when the church began. You had only a few members that met at that house. what was the original group, about 14?
My grandfather organized with he and his wife and 3 families, which
All right.
consisted of about 14 adults and about 15 children.
Okay.
Okay.
And now it's grown to tell us the magic number now.
The magic number is 625.
That is really, isn't that great?
It is great.
You know, the Lord
Yeah.
has really blessed you all.
He has blessed us. I think that God works in seasons, winter, spring, and fall. And I think we're about to begin a new season at Sunset.
And you know, he's one of those 24-hour guys that's awake all night and all of this good stuff.
Exactly, and I believe he's really getting ready to take us to another level. And I'm praying that we will be equipped and spiritually and mentally and physically to go where God is getting ready to lead us. Yeah.
Well, you have 1 or 2 members that are real special to us here in Grand Prairie, Mr. T. and Tommy Williams.
Tommy Bell Williams.
Tommy Bell Williams. And all of her kids, the Holt kids, are so special that
each one of those kids grew up in Sunset.
in Sunset.
Some of the kids grew up under the pastorage of Newell Magruder.
Yes.
And I'm most proud to have 2 of the daughters and one of the grandsons, Jaron Holt.
Oh,
Who
yes.
just graduated from
Big football player.
Just graduated from Grand Prairie High,
Yeah.
and he's at Vanderbilt now. Yes.
Well, Robert Holt, one
And
of our
Robert,
sons.
yes, Robert was with us too.
Yes,
Yeah.
we saluted Robert because he was our outstanding status gopher
Oh,
during
okay.
homecoming at Grand Prairie High School
Great.
last year. So
Beautiful people. Yeah.
all of yours are South Grand Prairie High Warriors, but some
Right.
of the Holts managed to get over there to Grand
Exactly.
Prairie High School.
I never had a problem until I went to the North-South game. I
Yes,
kind of had to sit in the middle.
In the middle. Go sit on one side halftime.
Halftime and to move over to the other side.
The other.
Yeah.
We have about 2 minutes left on our interview. It's just been so exciting. We could have talked for a couple of hours.
Yes.
But I want you to look out into your camera and let the young people know how important it is for them to excel, to do their best, or whatever you'd like to give a message to young people.
Yes. To the young people, I simply say and I encourage that you are very special people. The mere fact that you woke up this morning means you're still in God's plans. He has something special for you in your life. And just start where you are, do what you can, and allow the Lord to take reign of your life. So many negative things are all around us, but in the midst of all of the negative things that are around us, you represent the one positive thing, and you can remain positive if you just keep your hands in God's hand. Look to your parents and your grandparents. They're instrumental influences in your life, and they won't tell you anything to hurt you. They're telling you things that will help you. All of the educators that are spending valuable time with you in the halls of learning, take time to listen and take time to receive all that they're trying to give you. And I guarantee you, in the end, your living will not be in vain.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for the interview.
Sister Jackson, thank you for sharing and allowing me to share in this program.
Wonderful. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do. And look what he's running.
How about